Hey everybody, so today we're here at PetSmart in Brunswick doing a event, kind of a meet and greet style event to get the animals out there and get a little word of mouth for her pagan reptile rescue. So here we have Denise and her husband talking to people.
Oh my goodness, look, Jack.
Yeah, they all are in the exact same position.
They are. You're going to take a picture. They're all
Yeah.
look.
Where they're all like,
We've had some more critical care.
hey buddy. So this is Rocky.
Not critical, just carnivore.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought it was called carnivore critical care.
I can show you guys how to syringe feed if you want to.
I usually just kind of grip it in front of the mouth
Do
and
that?
lick it.
Yep, that would work. But that's what I would do.
And we just got
The snakes are the easiest thing we have in the reptile rescue. The hardest things are like bearded dragons,
makes them
bugs, and
whatever that is.
lettuce and greens and stuff. She is always chopping vegetables.
Pretty much. She's an adult. She is an older adult. She's
So we're back at the house. I had to leave the event early so I could go get a rescue. And now I'm going to take you guys on a journey with me as we feed the snakes. Step one in feeding is getting the food ready. I feed only frozen thawed, and as you can see here, what I do is I actually take the frozen rats and mice, put them in a bag, and then put them in warm water to get them ready. I usually warm them up to around 100 degrees. I find that to be a good range for them to eat. They seem to be more excited about it when it's nice and warm. So without further ado, we'll start feeding. So before I feed here, I want to talk about one of the most common types of bites when it comes to owning snakes, and that's a feeding response where the snake bites you because it believes you're a food source. As you can see here with Bo, to the untrained person he just looks like he's chilling, but as you can see his chin is up just a little bit. He's got his head pointed up just a little bit, and that tells me that he is in feeding mode. So let's see what happens as I turn this cage. We'll see if he reacts to just me opening it. No, not much of a reaction. There he goes. There's the tongue flicks. So as you can see, Bo is ready to eat. Now, if I just stuck my hand in here, there's a good chance that he's going to bite me. And that's because he knows it's feeding day, and he knows that I'm going to be coming with food, and my hand is the size of the rats that he eats. He means no ill will towards me, but he's hungry. So he's going to be the first one we feed here in just a second, and I'll show you what I mean by a feeding strike. Okay. So as you can see here, Bo's rat is almost the same size as my hand. So what we're going to do here is open his cage, and I'll show you how quickly he recognizes the food and goes after it. There we go. So that's why we don't stick our hands in front of hungry snakes. Bo right now is eating a large rat every 2 to 3 weeks. He'll squeeze it like this for about a minute or two, and then he'll start to swallow. There's his little head down in there. So now we're going to feed one of our little baby boas. As you can see, it's a much smaller mouse. This is Ray. Ray's only a couple months old. Here she goes. There she is. There. So I just want to be clear, I don't take any satisfaction at all from feeding these animals. It's a way of life, unfortunately. Having snakes, you have to feed them mice. There's no other way around it. I love mice. I love rodents. And that's why one of the reasons I only feed frozen thawed. And actually feeding frozen thawed is better for the snake anyway. There's less chance they're going to get injured, and there's less chance they're going to get any parasite or something from the mouse. So again, Ray will wrap this for a couple of minutes, and we'll come back when she starts to swallow. So as we feed, as you can see here, Iris has already taken her rat. Talk about the sizing of the meal. So for Iris here, she's eating something that's just about the same size as she is in circumference at her widest point. And that's kind of the general rule of thumb, depending on what you're trying to do, whether you're trying to get them to grow or whether you're just trying to sustain their weight. Usually the most appropriate size is about the widest part of their girth is how big the rat should be. So next we'll be feeding Poseidon. So you'll probably notice in this video that I'm actually not using any tongs right now to feed these guys, and the only reason for that is because I can't find them. So I'm feeding them by hand, but I've done and fed these guys enough that I know their tendencies, so I'm not too worried about them biting me. That being said, I always suggest that you use tongs or something else to feed your snakes, just so you avoid any sort of to avoid any sort of food response where they bite you instead of the food. So here we have Ray in the middle. Let's zoom in a little bit here. In the middle of swallowing her rat, or actually hers is a little mouse. Like I said, I take no pleasure in feeding them other animals, but I do find it very interesting to watch them swallow their food. It's amazing how they do it without any hands, without any feet, and they just work their jaws down the body of the mouse and then just squeeze it the rest of the way down their body. Oh, there we go, come on. So we'll just watch her here as she swallows. Come on. It's amazing to me how wide their jaws can stretch. So all four of their pieces of their jaw can move actually independently and stretch independently. So they can actually swallow something much larger than the size of their own head, which is just amazing. Almost got it down. So you'll see as she gets the body down, she'll actually scrunch her body up almost like a slinky and then kind of stretch it out to force that mouse down into her stomach. And there it goes. We'll probably get a yawn here shortly as she tries to realign her jaws. Well, that about does it for today's video. As always, I hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you guys soon.